Alright, time for another draftphysics.com, debatephysics.com also, but can't get anybody to engage in a rational interaction regarding the basic functions of the universe. So this is the third in the series of kind of shortish videos, just explaining paradoxes that basically prove that there is no such thing as kinetic energy by the formula 1/2 mv squared, that all there is force in the universe, and force is measured as Galileo, Descartes, and Newton measured it, as a quantity of motion, or just your mass times your velocity. And that tells you how much capacity you have to move matter in the universe. That one atom moving 1,000 miles an hour is the same energy as 1,000 atoms moving 1 mile an hour. Same force creates both circumstances. All right, so there's a couple of experiments that kind of decisively prove the theory of 1/2 mv squared is mush. Okay, and the simple thing to do is you take a 1 mass and a 1 mass, and you simply combine them. So you give one the initial velocity, and we'll just say for the sake of argument it's 10. All right, and then you're going to double the mass, okay, and that should have the velocity. So as you combine these two objects, now the simple way to combine them is to drop one on the other, okay, because then the force is down and it won't interfere with your linear momentum, the momentum in the direction you're measuring. And so this experiment is done lots of times, and what you end up with is a 2 mass, okay, going 5 velocity, and you perfectly, pretty much, 99.99 kind of thing, okay, conserve the momentum. So you have all your original momentum, but you have lost 1/2 the KE is gone. So you're minus 1/2 the KE, which is a lot. 1/2 the energy is gone, missing, is not available, cannot be found. Yeah. And so it basically proves, and it's just a mathematical disappearance. Mechanically, you can understand there's nothing that took away half the energy. There's no, and clearly, if you have all your momentum, how could you possibly have created a bunch of heat? Or let's say if I just knocked a piece off and it went in a different direction, that would cost momentum. I couldn't conserve 100% almost of the momentum and have knocked a piece off also. I can't create essentially heat in 2 different places. I can only create energy or heat or motion in one place or the other place. I can't create it in both places without accounting for that. And there's no accounting. So it's a dirt simple experiment. Basically demonstrates that this 1/2 mv squared stuff is not real energy. It doesn't have any real meaning. It's a fable. It's just a story they tell, and they really have no evidence. Now, the second experiment that proves the point is the ballistic experiment, where now you're taking the one atom going 1,000 miles an hour, so to speak, a bullet, all right, with some number of joules, let's say 2,000 KE, joules worth of energy, and you plow it into a dense, heavy collector, okay, that generally speaking tends to collect all the energy in the correct direction. That is, it doesn't convert too much of the motion into motion of clay in wrong directions. And it conserves, let's say, 95% of the momentum. So when you measure the velocity of the big heavy mass, big mass, small velocity, small mass, big velocity, what you end up with is a general conservation of the momentum. Yes, you lose a small percentage, but you lose 99 point, in the case of a Professor Lewin experiment, 94% of the kinetic energy now has been is gone. 99.9%. A huge loss. You're down to 2 joules. Okay, so you lost a gigantic percentage of the kinetic energy. Now, the argument is, yes, you did move some clay, you heated it a little, you caused a little bit of stuff, and it cost you 5% of the real momentum. That's what it cost you. That's why you didn't perfectly conserve. That's all you did. And you can't do anything else. You can't cause heat. You can't cause movement. You can't cause anything in something without exchanging it. Something has to lose a vector in a direction for something to gain a vector in a direction. It has to always be an exchange. The currency, the the amount of energy in the universe is a fixed amount, whatever there is, $6 trillion worth, and all you can do is track where the pennies go, who has them, who has the currency, and the currency is just a vector with a direction, a magnitude, a direction, and a strength. And the strength is dependent on its mass and its velocity, and that's all there is. But the ballistic pendulum is overtly saying to you, kinetic energy is mush, because there's no way I created 2,000 joules of heat, or motion, or clay flying out, or any of that, because that would require 2,000 joules of momentum to create. I would have had to lose a huge percentage of my momentum if I made a bunch of heat or I made a bunch of clay move. A bowling ball rolling down an alley loses a little bit of momentum to the alley, okay, by vibrating it a little bit. And then when it hits a pin, okay, the pins, it gives up what it has. So if it has 100, it can give 10 to this one, and 9 to this one, and 7 or 6, and it just gives away hunks of its momentum to everything it hits and everything it has contact with. It shares its condition. The two objects basically share, whatever they have, they pull out of their pockets. So if one has this and one has this, they both pull it out of their pockets, throw it on the table, and they both end up taking half of what's there, or they just exchange what was in their pockets. But they can't do anything else. They can't make some of it go away. They can just exchange it. And so, these two simple experiments are essentially, in my opinion, irrefutable, decisive evidence that mv squared is nonsense. You can't just make energy disappear, and if you're going to claim it's there, you're going to claim that you used half the kinetic energy, that somehow you made sparks or some sort of incredible sounds, or you did something. You have to prove that it was half the energy's worth. So if it was 100 joules going in, you have to prove that you used 50% of them or half of them to do all of this work. And in the case of the ballistic pendulum, you have to show us the 1,999 joules that you claim was converted into some other motion somewhere. They can't just claim there was deformation, or there was heat, or there was sound, without accounting for how much energy actually it would take to make any of that, and that it somehow adds up to what you initially started with. And again, you're still stuck with the paradox that you can't conserve 99%, okay, of the momentum, almost 100%, and then claim you did work. You can't do work without using something's momentum. When work happens, something's momentum somewhere has to be used to cause the work, to cause it to be accomplished. You just can't have it both ways. So that's probably enough. Yeah, so we'll keep it short. Yeah. I think that, again, till somebody explains how they're not decisive evidence, they're decisive evidence demonstrating that the theory of kinetic energy is a fable. It has nothing to do with doing science. It's not proven. It's not established by preponderances of evidence. It's exactly the opposite. The preponderance of the evidence demonstrates that it's useless and unviable as a theory. It doesn't represent the truth. The truth is that one atom moving 1,000 miles an hour has exactly the same ability to share energy with the universe that 1,000 atoms moving 1 mile an hour has. It's the same capacity to do work.